From JBS Studios in Greater New York, this is the JBS News Update with Teisha Bader.
I'm Teisha Bader with the JBS News Update for Wednesday, July the 22nd, 2020. We open with some clarification and correction today in regards to a story reported yesterday by the Jerusalem Post that Twitter had deemed some images shared by their users of the Star of David as hateful imagery. The story cited reports received by the Campaign Against Antisemitism that several Twitter users said their accounts had been locked by Twitter over violating their rules against posting hateful imagery. The Post said the accounts in question had contained a white Star of David in a graffiti style and a modern blue star spliced with the yellow star that Jews were forced to wear during the Holocaust, among others. Well, the Anti-Defamation League reached out to the social media platform to correct the situation, and Twitter explained that while the majority of cases were correctly actioned, some were mistakes and have now been restored. They also tweeted later that we categorically do not consider the Star of David as a hateful symbol or hateful image. We have for some time seen the yellow star or yellow badge symbol being used by those seeking to target Jewish people. CEO of the Anti-Defamation League, Jonathan Greenblatt, wrote it was good to see Twitter clarifying the difference between images used to harass and when used to express identity and empathy. The Star of David, he said, is an ancient symbol that represents all Jews and our solidarity. The Allgemeiner reports that a few dozen members of a neo-Nazi group marched this past weekend in Pennsylvania with hateful chants heard against Jews, blacks, and members of the LGBTQ community. The marchers belong to the National Socialist Movement. They paraded through the city of Williamsport and held speeches in Brandon Park, where the news site said speakers engaged in a stream of racist, anti-Semitic, and homophobic rhetoric. No major disruptions or violence was reported, and the group was ultimately sent home by police who deemed the gathering illegal because the group did not have a permit. Well, a new discovery at the Auschwitz-Birkenau State Museum while working on a display to preserve shoes belonging to children who were sent to the Nazi death camp, employees found handwritten inscriptions inside some of those shoes, many of them identifying the child who they belonged to. They also found letters and other documents in other shoes. The museum's Hannah Kubik said, "I hope that more detailed research will reveal details about each individual." Spain is the latest European country to adopt the International Holocaust Remembrance Alliance's working definition of anti-Semitism, which includes prejudices against Jews, Holocaust denial, and the denial of Israel's right to exist. The American Jewish Committee, who was involved in the original drafting of the definition 14 years ago, shared their gratitude on social media to Prime Minister Pedro Sanchez and his government for taking a key step in the effort to combat rising anti-Semitism. A major archaeological site was unveiled today in Jerusalem, which researchers believe dates back to the time of the kings of Judah. The Israel Antiquities Authority shared the news on their Facebook page with video of what they said was a huge and unusual structure found while digging in the neighborhood of Arnona, which is near the U.S. Embassy, which they say served as an administrative center during the reigns of Judean kings Hezekiah and Menashe, the 8th century to the middle of the 7th BCE, operating a food storage and tax collection center. The IAA's Neria Sapir and Natan Ben-Ari, who led the excavation, said there are signs that governmental activity managed and distributed food supplies, not only for shortage, but administered agricultural surplus, amassing commodities and wealth. They said this is one of the most significant discoveries from the period of the kings in Jerusalem in recent years. Taking a look now at our programming for tonight on JBS for Wednesday, July the 22nd. At 7 o'clock, Dina Kraft and John Cross discuss their Hadassah podcast, which looks into the daily lives of Jewish and Arab citizens of Israel. At 8, it's a look at the ethics of the IDF. At 9, Mark Golub speaks with co-founder and CEO of the Miriam Institute, Benjamin Anthony, who discusses making Aliyah from the UK, serving in the IDF, and starting his first organization, Our Soldiers Speak. At 10, it's the Jake Ehrenreich Show with guest stars the Finkel brothers and Mike Fine, the Rabbi Comic. And coming up next, it's Thinking Out Loud. And that's the JBS News Update for Wednesday, July the 22nd, 2020. I'm Teisha Bader. Stay healthy, stay well.